This is your city. This is your city wants to know. We want to know the background, the heartbeat of what makes up our beautiful cities. We dig into the backstories, from the struggles to the successes of our local entrepreneurs, small business owners, artists, not-for-profit organizations, and the many, many people who make up the intricate tapestry of our communities. Real people, real stories, by you and for you. But wait, that's not it. I love giving my opinion. Just ask anyone who knows me. We can't get enough of the honest, gritty feedback of places that we spend our hard-earned money. I'll give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of the places I eat, sleep, and visit. Disclaimer, my opinion only. All right, so come on, let's get to it. Hello, and thank you for tuning in once again to This Is Your City. As always, this is Kim Wardell, your host. And I'd like to know, when you hear the word regenerative medicine, what do you think? I know it's a little bit of a mouthful, but what do you think when you hear that? Well, when I first heard about my guest, I was so intrigued that I had to reach out with her to see if she would chat with me. And of course, she's so gracious. She said yes. And we've actually chatted a few times. So I just want you to know, I love science. Specifically, I love biology and the human body. It fascinates me. So I needed to reach out to this lady because she does a lot of things, but one of the things that she does, well, amongst a many host of things, she studied micromolecular biology and natural medicine, along with many other things. So because I'm so fascinated, I reached out. And if being a naturopathic physician isn't a busy enough schedule, she's also we're going to get into this in a little bit, but she's an author. And she's in charge, she's the community service coordinator for a not-for-profit mobile health service, which is very cool. And she's going to get into that and tell us all about that. So I'm just so happy. Dr. Angela Cortal, welcome and thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. So you're doing good? Everything's going well over there amidst all of this crazy world?
Well, yeah, the world changes, so we adapt and we change and we make the best of it and just take care of ourselves and our friends and family the best that we're able to.
Yes, of course. What about, so you have a clinic, obviously. During the pandemic, I know we have to change with the times, but it has to be a little bit daunting for you as a physician. I mean, you have multiple patients with multiple different needs. How is this working for you? How is it working for your patients?
Well, it's been an adaptation process for us all. And a few months ago, I went from maybe having one or two or three video or telehealth visits, as we call them, to now just a few months in, we're still, I'm probably sitting still over 50% of my practice, 50 to 75%, depending on the week, is all just right like this, often here at my home office where I am right now, or actually in my clinic in between in-person visits. So I'm seeing a very small number of patients in person when we're needing to do something specifically like the injection therapy is part of the regenerative medicine that you mentioned, and for the most part, everything else is still virtual.
Well, that's kind of good because it tells you that people are adapting and they're stepping outside of their comfort zone, because this isn't really normal for a lot of people. So to do, you're not face to face, you don't get that personal connection. So this is quite cool that you have like 50% of your clients willing to do this. That's amazing.
Yeah, I would say it was a getting used to it process, and the first couple of weeks, I would say that's the time when most patients, a few were just kind of ready to jump right in. They might be already self-described techie or early adopter kind of people, and for everyone else, they were kind of like, I think we're just gonna wait, and then they saw, oh, this is how things are happening now. This is how it's happening with my friends, with my family, with my church group, whatever it is. Like, okay, everything's going virtual, and actually so many of my patients love it. They don't have to drive. They don't have to plan any commute. They don't have to get out of their pajama clothes
Right.
often.
Yeah, that's funny. I want to talk about your clinic, and I definitely want to talk about your pop-up mobile services. But before we do that, I'd like you to explain to myself and our listeners, because you do regenerative injections. And that's what really got me interested in with what you do. Regenerative medicine, regenerative injections. Can you just fill us in, kind of educate us a little bit what that actually is?
Sure. So regenerative injection therapy, I would describe it as sort of an umbrella term for a lot of specific types of procedures, all of them injections. The whole, the point or the intention and kind of what they're doing, no matter which one specifically you're talking about, they have a similar goal. And that's to go into directly the site of, say, chronic pain, a chronic area that is injured and just didn't fully heal, inflamed, or maybe it's lax, maybe there's a small tear there. Pretty much where there's been a chronic pain and just lingering issue in our musculoskeletal system. So joints, ligaments, tendons. So those injections go right into the area, and they provide a signal that in essence sort of tricks the body, I guess you could say biohack, tricks it to make it think it's a site of a injury that just happened. And so our natural healing response or immune system then comes in and reinitiates what we call the healing cascade to actually get that area healed. So it's very different than perhaps what a lot of you out there have heard of with the cortisone injections. And so that does a pain killing response, and that's why they're used. And these ones can provide that immediate response, but really the whole point of it is very different. It's not something just to be used as a painkiller. It's something to really get someone to a different place.
So basically, it's regenerating your body's cells, its own cells.
It's stimulating. It's called a stem cell migration signal, and so it's telling the body to bring our own stem cells, which people have heard of stem cell injections out there, but we always have stem cells sort of floating around in our body, right, surveilling everything all the time. If you get a cut over here or a sprain over there, that's what's really healing those areas is our own stem cells. So it's recruiting them to go specifically to that, let's just say, knee or shoulder or something like that, and telling them to reheal this tissue.
I have a really vivid imagination in mind, and I learn through sometimes pictures. It's almost like I'm watching a movie in my own brain. And when I'm reading up on this and you're talking to me about it, I'm picturing like, okay, so the injection, let's say your shoulder, what have you, it's sort of like, so you're injecting these little soldiers and you're saying, okay, troop, this is your mission, now go on. And it kind of marches out into your body, finds that place is not as healthy as it should be. And it just goes, it's like surgeons inside little tiny, and they start mending the body. And so that it doesn't have to be replaced through surgery, possibly, right? Like it's another alternative to avoid evasive surgeries and things of this nature. Would that be right?
Yeah. How I describe it often to patients is that what is in the injection is really communication. It's my job to identify the correct locations and to select the right type of injection. Prolotherapy is the specific name of the one that I'm using most often. And so it's giving communication to that area, yes, telling it to reheal that tissue. And that, so it's me and the injection working together. I find where they should go, and then between the injection and someone's own body and healing process, they kind of take it from there.
You're the sergeant that sends. Now, do you work in the lab for regenerating cells? Do you do that as well, or you?
I am not in any sort of lab bench science. I did in my undergrad work in that atmosphere, and it was really at that point, and having graduated from the micromolecular biology track, realized I wanted to go into more clinical medicine and see patients face to face and help individual people. So no, I kind of left the research personally, but behind a few decades ago. but I really love it, and I really try to keep abreast of all of the research out there on the various influences that I'm aware about and communicate to my patients and write about as far as what impacts our healing.
Well, that's a great segue into my next question. You're saying you would rather be face-to-face and help the patients. And that brings me into one thing. I'm so impressed with you. And because I love people who can make a difference in our communities. I love that we can think out of the box and go out there and help people in our community. And that's exactly what you do. You're one of I think there's only 2, please correct me if I'm wrong, pop-up mobile services out there. And is that correct or no?
I don't know of any other place that's doing the same type of pop-up clinic offering the prolotherapy. I have heard of other ones that are maybe doing blood pressure checks or diabetic checks or something like that. We do have other mobile clinical services, but as far as I'm aware, we sort of came up with the idea of the prolotherapy.
Yeah, well, that was there's two. Yes, there's two pop-up organization clinics. There's only one that does the injections that you do, the regenerative injections, in all of the United States. I couldn't find any but yours. I did some research and I couldn't find anything but yours. And so the fact that you offer such a specific care to people, there's a lot of people out there who suffer with chronic pain. Myself, I was one of them, and I know we'll get into that in a second. Well, I'll get into that now. One of the reasons you started getting into this is because you also suffered chronic pain. It was your knee, correct?
Yes, yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying about the injection therapies potentially delaying someone's surgery, and that's one particular case. Sometimes I'm doing the injection therapies because someone is told, well, there's nothing really here surgically to correct. Or in my case, I had the surgery. It did fix what it was an ACL ligament that was torn, so that surgery did happen. But it was just lingering kind of pain and instability and weakness of my whole knee that I had personally for, gosh, a good solid decade before I decided I've had this for 1 decade. Looking forward, I'm seeing where this path is going, and I don't like that. We need to change the trajectory here.
Yeah, because chronic pain, anybody who's had chronic pain knows that it's just not that spot. Say it's your knee or your shoulder, or your back, whatever it might be. It's not just that spot. It affects you mentally. Like day in and day out, you're living with this and it becomes a part of your normal life, and it shouldn't. And it really affects you emotionally. So to have this option is amazing. And you go out there into the community, and I'm going to get you to talk about it. I don't want to take that away from you because this is your baby. People who may not be able to have the exact funds, but it's a pop-up mobile service where you go do injections. Can you just explain that to us a little bit?
Yeah, so myself and the board of Santiam Community Health, that's the name of the nonprofit, our whole mission is to bring the prolotherapy, mobile services, and health and education into areas where it doesn't exist, and to be able to offer it in a way where those who have medical and financial barriers can access the care a little bit more readily. And so what that looks like is literally the clinic is mobile, so it can fit in a bag. And that is taken to a gym, to a fitness center, to a clinic where they may not be open that day or have an extra space. We're pretty humble, so we're usually just kind of whatever room someone will what the host facility will give us, and then we treat who we can treat that day. And where the clinic where the pop-up clinic has been operating most recently is in Eastern Oregon, so that's a few hours from where I am in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. And where we do the pop-up clinic is hours away from where any other prolotherapy is. So we're kind of finding those, people have heard of food deserts, we're kind of finding medical deserts, and specifically, where the prolotherapy just doesn't exist, and offering that to the community.
How do these people find out that you're going to be there? And is it a lineup of people waiting, or they have to have an appointment? Like, how does that work?
They do. It's been a little bit different depending on the facility, just because of COVID. Yes, plus an added extra interesting layer of COVID. But just generally speaking, it's been some of it has been first come, first serve. Others have been reservation to have certain appointments. Because I am the one providing the service, I can only see so many people in a given period of time. And so where we are over in Eastern Oregon, word travels in our smaller towns. I live in a smaller town, and you tell a couple of people and you put it on a Facebook page, and a lot of people know about it. And where we are specifically over there is a chiropractic clinic called Crossroads. And so they've also been telling their patients who are looking for treatment options. So between that and literally just flyers at the health food store, flyers at the gym, talking to the people who run some of the community spaces.
And it'll get out there, because if you're suffering from chronic pain, you're desperate, and you want to find something so people will know. You'll get the word. You'll get the word that there's something that can help you. So that's really awesome that that's working so well. And I hope for you that, that expands. And I mean, you can only send yourself in one place at a time. I get it. So, if that's your goal, I'm hoping you can expand that throughout the US and have a team of people underneath you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But in addition to that, like, you're not busy enough, like I said at the beginning, you teach and you address this to fitness instructors, other physicians, right? You do courses, you do lectures to other professionals. So you're also a teacher in this aspect. Like, this is your specialty, and you go and teach other physicians so that they can learn and better be equipped to help their patients. Is that right? So you do lectures all over the country, or are you stationed?
Yeah. Well, there's pre-COVID and now times.
Exactly.
And yes, I've always been a teacher at heart since being in high school, and we have an outdoor school where you're a counselor who teaches different environmental and nature lessons. And so I started teaching when I was a kid and never stopped teaching. And now, so I do a lot for the public, and that's been in various public spheres, like around my community. Now, most of that is online right now, very easy with Zoom and video lives and other things like that. And then, yes, also for some of our fitness summits and continuing education, for physical therapists, for trainers, for chiropractors, for naturopathic doctors, also specifically for other providers who do the regenerative injection therapy. I'm very passionate about how the regenerative injections are a wonderful tool, but they really need to be matched with looking at someone's overall health and figuring out what needs to be addressed in those various spheres to really optimize the treatment. Looking more systemically beyond the joint to optimize the response. And so that's been in the past all live at conferences, and now we have some virtual conferences, and I have pretty much all of it on video right now.
It's kind of convenient though, so because I mean, you're so busy, so that you just go into your office at home, you can now do this instead of packing a bag. It's kind of convenient.
Yes. Yep.
You made a statement there, and it kind of ties in. You said, okay, so you used to love to teach about nature when you were in high school and you did things like that. And that makes sense then. So you naturally went into naturopathic medicine. But with these injections, there's got to be more to it, right? Like, as a naturopathic physician, hormones, things that you eat, there's so many things, as well as these injections. So how do you teach your patients or your seminars and lectures about those other things? What do you talk about?
Well, it does depend a little bit on the audience and the focus. So I can very easily talk a whole hour on hormones, very, very easily.
And all the women in the audience are going, yeah.
Yes, or specifically thyroid, just one hormone. There's a lot to talk about how that impacts pain levels and healing and joint function. And yeah, that just those connections there is really the whole point of why I wrote my book, because I really just wanted to connect all those dots for people and say, if you have joint pain, then don't just stop at ibuprofen. Look a little bit deeper. Look at what else is going on, because there really can be so much that we can influence, sort of become our own advocates and find out what has been looked at for me, what has been evaluated, what can I really do. I feel like we have so much untapped power there, instead of just kind of giving up and saying, all right, well, that thing didn't work, so I guess I'm stuck with it for life.
Yeah, like live with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I know you just mentioned your book, and I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get very exciting. It's very exciting. So before I get there, I want to read something to you that I just recently read. And I have to tell you, Angela, I was pretty upset reading this. Not just because I believe in naturopathic medicine. I believe in its healing remedies. I also believe, I don't say don't go to a doctor, don't take medicine. I mean, obviously we have to sometimes. You just have to. You know, science is a wonderful thing. I also believe in the healing powers of acupuncture. I never used to. I was a big skeptic. But personally in my life, it's done great wonders. And I was reading something from Wikipedia, you know, and I just want to read this to you, what I heard. You may have read this already. I think it was malevolent. Like, it was just hateful almost, how Wikipedia has this. Let me read this to you, and I just want to get your opinion on this. So it's talking about naturopathic remedies and medicine and naturopathic practitioners. It says the ideology and methods of naturopathy are based on vitalism and folk medicine rather than evidence-based medicine. Naturopathic practitioners generally recommend against modern medical practices, including but not limited to testing, drugs, vaccinations, and surgeries. Instead, these practitioners rely on unscientific notions, often leading to naturopaths to diagnose and mistreat factual merit. Naturopathy is considered by medical professions to be ineffective and harmful, raising ethical issues as a practice. Naturopaths have repeatedly been denounced and accused of practicing quackery. Does that not make you just instantly sweat? Like,
It's pretty sad.
Isn't that hateful?
Yeah.
Somebody wrote that, right? We know that Wikipedia, somebody going in and being able to write that. My physician, my family practitioner, she's not a naturopathic doctor. She agrees with naturopathic medicines. She says they work together. I have a specialist for something, and he agrees that naturopathic medicines and practices can be married with modern medicine. So where would somebody get the notion to say this? It's very upsetting to me.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they read something or heard something from someone that they just didn't like, and they just sort of took it and ran with it.
Right.
How my training is, and I went to the naturopathic medical school in Oregon. It's now NUNM. It was NCNM back when I went there, and we're trained as primary care physicians. So we learn physicals, labs, prescriptions, vaccines, everything you might go to your quote unquote regular doctor for an annual exam, for a checkup. We learn that. And our approach, I guess, our philosophy to treating patients and all of that is that, yes, we learn that as a primary care physician. And then we're adding on the nutritional information,
Exactly.
botanical information, physical medicine, and so some of these other modalities there. And it's not really an either or, it's sort of an
Right.
and
Exactly.
depending on what the patient needs.
I mean, science has proven that food can greatly affect our body, our emotions, our mental capacity. That's science. Naturopathic medicine is science. Like, it is a science to go and find out that carrots have certain vitamins and minerals that can be benefiting your body, right? Like, it just blows my mind that somebody can write that out of such ignorance, and it's able to stay there. I don't know. I just was reading that and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to read this to Angela. I have to read this to Angela. This is so upsetting. Modern medicine agrees that there are so many things that the earth provides that can benefit us. So that was upsetting to me, but I don't want to end there with a negative like that. So what I want to talk about now, Miss Dr. Angela Cortal, author, but you're not just an author, are you? No. You are one of Amazon's #1 new release bestsellers.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. Like, Amazon's #1 new release and bestsellers list. That's pretty impressive. You've got to be excited. But I want to tell them the name of the book, and then you can talk to us about it. So it's Younger Joints Today, the 7-step plan to turn back hands of time and get your joints healing, moving, and feeling their best. And it's even a Kindle edition. So I want you to talk about that, because that's very exciting. Like, that's something to like.
Yes, I am so happy, so glad that it is out in the world and that it is so popular and that it's just getting out there, and that's phenomenal. And so yeah, where this book came from was, I touched on earlier, my path towards trying to figure out where else can I go in life besides more of the same when it came to my own joint issues. And kind of putting together from research, from my clinical experience, what should really be looked at when those initial things, what we call the standard of care, just aren't working. When the doctor says you should be healed by now, or that should have worked,
Right.
or we don't have anything for you, or you already had the surgery, or you don't need a surgery, then people just kind of feel stuck, feel like they're falling between the gaps. And I felt like I was in that position as well. And so this is really just distilling my clinical work with patients now, having run through this type of framework really in my mind. I wasn't at every single visit saying, okay, we're going through these 7 steps now, but this
Right.
was how I realized that my approach was working for patients. So I really just put that all down on paper, for myself, for my patients, for anyone out there with chronic joint pain. Take a look at these 7 steps. See if they've been investigated for you. See if they're relevant for you. Not every single one needs to be addressed for every single person, but I think we sort of owe it to ourselves to at least consider it. Just because so very often, and we mentioned a few of them, but hormones and nutrition, and they're just not connected, or they're said, oh, that has nothing to do with this. Your hormones have nothing to do with your joint pain. And I can tell you that is so wrong for so many people out there. Their hormones are very closely tied to how their joints are literally healing and regenerating and regrowing.
Absolutely. I have, as I mentioned a moment ago, I see a specialist for an autoimmune disease. And my specialist tells me all the time that because of my joint pains, that it's caused because of that. And so there's many different things that can help. And he even mentions food. I mean, I am so interested because of my joint pains and what this does to me. That's one of the reasons I was so fascinated when I heard about you. And this book is going to be an amazing read for me and my husband. And so really, if you're at the top, which is just awesome, #1 best-selling list for Amazon, that has to tell you that many, many people need what you have to offer.
I sure hope so. That's my whole goal, is to get my message out there for what has to be the millions of people that need this message.
Absolutely.
In the US, 1 in 4 have osteoarthritis or degenerative joint disease. And some feel that their pain, their disability is helped with, some ibuprofen, some other general recommendations, but millions and millions aren't. And that's who I'm writing to. I'm writing to my past self, the book I wish I had 15 years ago, say, and for all of those out there, because it's heavily informed by research. I have citations all the way throughout. And most of that, if you look at the bibliography, most of it is really new. Like within the last couple of years, a lot of that research was just published in 2020. So this is like me saying, we're now aware of this information. I'm trying to get it out there and make everyone else aware of it, because we know that it takes about 17 years for the typical research study to work its way all the way into being accepted into your more traditional medical spheres.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So I just want to encourage everybody out there, Younger Joints Today. It's on Amazon. Dr. Angela Cortal, Cortal, Dr. Angela Cortal, Younger Joints Today. Who doesn't want younger joints today? I do. I don't get it. Is it just Amazon right now? I'm sure there's many other places, but that's where your number one.
Yes. Yep. The ebook and print is on Amazon right now.
Well, Amazon is like the cool kid on the block, right? So that's where you go. I just want to say thank you so much. I'm really appreciative of you taking your time out, and I just wish you luck with this this pop-up service that you're offering. I think it's so needed, and I'm so thankful that you and your crew offer this. And if anybody out there needs to get in touch with Dr. Cortal, you can just Google her. She's everywhere. Her research and her practice is well known in the medical community. Just go Google her and you can find out all of her she said, her citations and her research. Younger Joints Today. Angela, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And I can't wait to see even more. I'm sure you've got some more in the works. Do you have any other books, or wait. Let me just back. That probably took everything out of you with everything else you have going on. Probably just going to bask in it for a minute. And then maybe another one.
Maybe I'm still in book recovery mode, and my next project is actually to get it up as an audiobook. And
nice.
Yeah, so that's something that's in the works, and my next project, along with developing some more online education just for the public. Kind of next steps. Where do you take this in your life, and then perhaps in 2021 or later, there may be another book out there.
Well, I'm going to put this out there for people who are watching and listening. Mention it to your practitioner and have them contact Dr. Cortal. She's a specialist in this field. She's one of the #1 specialists in this field in America. So have them contact her, and she can even, teach them and have them bring it to your location. So I'm speaking out of turn here. They can contact you and you can set stuff up with them, correct?
Yes.
The other physicians, yes, the other practitioners. So thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I don't know if you're still seeing patients. I know you took some time out for us, so go do what you do and make people young again.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay. Sounds good.
Stay safe. And guys, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in once again. I appreciate you so much. Spread the word, tweet, share, follow, subscribe, whatever it is you have to do. Send a pigeon out. I don't know. Just make sure you're telling everybody that they should be listening to This Is Your City. Take care, stay blessed, and stay safe.